Alright, guys, we're getting started. Sit down. Boys, Braden, turn around. Girls. Okay. Can anybody tell me? Okay, maybe I should start with this. Yeah, those little numbers are called exponents. Sometimes you can say power. Does anybody know what this thing at the bottom is called?
X over?
No. It's called the base. Okay, the base is x, the exponent is 5. The base, you know, like the ground floor. Does anybody, raise your hand, know what x to the third times x squared would be equal to?
X to the 5.
I just said raise your hand. Trey. X to the fifth. Okay, why is it x to the fifth? Because basically this means x times x times x times x times x. So you're just multiplying 5 x's together. So when you multiply the same base, you add the exponents. You guys remember that? What if I had x to the third squared? Raise your hand if you think you might know. Will.
X to the 6.
Okay, that is correct. And the reason, that is correct, x to the third squared means x to the third times x to the third, right? So basically it's 3 plus 3, or 3 times 2. So when you have a power to a power, it's multiplied. When you have a base times a base, you add.
Okay.
When you multiply the same base, you can add their exponents. When you're doing a power to a power, it's multiplied. Okay? And also we've done like x to the fifth over x squared. What would that, raise your hand, what would that be? Anybody know? We'll use this one. Leo, what do you think this is? I can't remember.
It's an interesting question.
Is it? Katie, what do you think this is? Stop eating. Britton, what do you think this is?
I really don't know.
X to the 2. You just like.
No. Sam.
X to the 2.5.
No.
I'm wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you copy me?
So when we, listen, when you multiply the same base, you add the exponents. Okay, when you divide the same base, subtract. 5 minus 2. So when we multiply the same base, we added the exponents. When you divide the bases, you subtract the exponents. So execute. So basically what's happening is we have x times x times x times x times x divided by x times x, right?
Huh?
So it's kind of like right here, right there.
Why is there so many X's?
Okay, so what's happening is like, it's kind of like when you reduce a fraction, they cancel out. So you have x cubed left.
That's strange.
If you multiply by 5 x's and then divide by 2 x's, basically it's like multiplying by x 3 times. Okay. This is kind of review. We never did much of it though, but we are on page 330 and we're doing 1 through 30. So grab your gear and let's get ready to go.
Oh my goodness. That was inspirational.
Okay. Let's go around the horn since the guys have failed to answer all of them. Let's start with the girls. Jaden, what do you think number 1 would be?
X to the 8.
That's correct. X to the 8th power.
Are we doing the odds?
Yes. Okay. Number 3, Emily, what do you think?
X to the 7 is y to, I don't know.
That's right. X to the 7.
Okay, and then y to the 5th.
Yeah, x to the 7th times y to the 5th. Since the order of multiplication doesn't matter, if you're just multiplying a bunch of stuff together, you can just go ahead and put the x's together and the y's together. Jasmine, you want to try 5? You don't have a book. Step 1. Lydia. Jasmine, you need a book.
7W 12. I mean 7W 7.
Okay, the W7 is right, but not the 7 part. What's 3 times 4? So, yeah, if it's normal numbers, do normal stuff. So if it says 3 times 4, you do 3 times 4. So it is, yeah, 12 W7. It's just the exponents are weird. Ava, number 7.
8 to 12.
8 to the 12. What changed on that one? Right, it was a power to a power. The parentheses kind of gave it away there. A power to another power. We multiplied the powers together. Number 9, Katie.
C to the third.
Okay, what do you do first? What did you do first?
2 times 4.
2 times 4 is 8. C to the 8th. So we multiplied that part, and then we have C to the 5th times C to the 8th. And then what's that?
C to the 40.
She just said it. What was it, Katie?
13.
C to 13. So the right part we multiplied. Remember, multiplication comes first, right? So she multiplied the 4 times 2 first, and then she did that plus 5. Okay, number 11, I guess we'll go Trey.
Negative 2b4.
Okay. On 11, everything in parentheses is being squared, right? You guys see that?
Yes.
So Trey, what is negative 2
Negative
squared?
4.
What's negative 2 times negative 2?
Positive.
Positive 4. Okay, that's the only normal numbers we're looking at. The rest of it is exponents, right? So what, Trey, what is b squared squared?
4.
4. So we're basically multiplying now. What is, okay, keep going. What's the c's?
CD 5. Or CD 10.
Okay, c,
Oh, 25.
c is being squared, and d to the 5th is being squared. So what's c squared?
2.
Okay, if there's no exponent, what's the exponent? 1. So you can think of this as 1 times 2. Or it's just c squared. But either way, it's c squared.
A squared plus b squared.
And then how many d's are we going to have?
25.
No. Power to a power, what do you do with powers?
7. It's 10.
Multiply.
Same thing.
Okay, we're multiplying. When you have a power to a power, just like number 7, number 11 and 7 are very similar. You just multiply the powers on all of them. It's kind of like the distributive property. Okay, number 13? Yeah, 13. All right, so it's kind of like where you have 2 terms that are being, Leo, I guess it's your turn. 2 terms being multiplied together. So, Leo, what do you think?
4A.
Hmm?
4A.
Okay, is the 2 on the front being squared? No. The 2 is not being squared, only the a is. So the 2 is just a 2. But does order of multiplication matter? Does it matter that it says 2 times a first? No. So, in other words, you can go ahead and do normal 2 times the normal negative 5. Because it's a bunch of stuff multiplied together. So what's 2 times negative 5?
Negative 10.
Negative 10. And then what else can we simplify? A to the second, is there anything to multiply that by? No. If there's more a's in there, we could put those together, but there aren't. So it just stays a to second.
What happened to b?
What happened to the b? Is there anything we can do with the b's?
Not sure.
B to the third, is there any other b's to multiply that by? No. It's just going to stay b to the third. So all we did basically is
Multiply
2
negative
times
five.
negative 5. And everything else did not simplify. Just stayed in the problem. Okay, Will I am 15. What do you think?
The 4 and negative 3.
4 negative 3 makes negative 12. Anything else we can do? So I see an a and I see an a cubed. What would that make if we're multiplying?
A cubed.
Hey, Jasmine, don't you try to learn something here? What's a times a cubed?
A cubed.
Okay. If it just says a, what's its exponent?
1.
1. So what's a times a cubed?
A cubed.
No. Okay, when you're multiplying the same base together, this is like number 1, not number 7. This is like number 1. You add their exponent, so it would be a to the 4th.
Oh, I thought you were saying to multiply the one place.
Okay, you do, it's a multiply problem, but when you're multiplying a times a, you add the exponents. Alright, and then how about the b's, Will?
B squared.
B squared, that's correct, and c's?
C squared.
C squared too? Yep. Alright, 17, Sam?
17.
Okay, 17 is different. What's different on 17?
The exponent is outside of the parentheses.
Right, and exponents come before multiply, right? So we should deal with the exponents first.
Okay.
So on 17, the left term is being cubed. So what would I'm going to change the page. What is the left term cubed going to come out as? That's too high.
2 times 2 and 2x times x. No, x times x.
So we're starting with 5
Oh.
cubed. 5 cubed. So what's 5 times 5 times 5? 25 times 5. How many? 5 quarters is worth what?
150 or
125.
125.
I thought it's multiplying x, not 5, right?
And then everything in there is being cubed. The parentheses is being cubed. So anything in the parentheses gets cubed. So we also have in the parentheses x cubed cubed. So what would that be?
x6.
125.
Like this. What's that? What do we do when we have that? It's multiply, right? Power to a power. So that's x to the 9. You guys see the difference? Number 1, problems like number 1, when we're multiplying x times x, it's addition.
Okay.
Problems like 7, when we have a power to a power, it's multiply.
Okay.
So right now on 17, on the first part, we have a power to a power, x to the third to the third. So it's x to the 9th for that part. And then on the right parentheses, it's being squared. So what will the right parentheses become? This is not the answer, by the way. It's just the left. What's the right?
4 and x squared.
Right. 2 squared is 4. X squared is x squared.
This is
Okay, now what do we do? Now we're multiplying, right? We're done with the exponents, but we're multiplying. 125 times 4. 500. Okay, then I have x to the 9th times x squared. Is that like number 1 or number 7? X to the 9th times x squared.
no.
It's like number 1. X to the 9th. It's not a 9 to the second. It's x to the 9th times x squared. X to 11. So the first part was a power to a power we had to multiply. The second part is x times x, and we added. So it did both on the same problem. Exponents come first though, so you gotta make sure you do those first. 19. Let's see, Britain. Kind of the same thing, isn't it? So, remember what we did first?
So we do negative 3 times 3, right?
Yeah, negative 3 squared is what?
Negative 9. It's 27, right?
Negative 3 times negative 3.
Negative 27.
No, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9.
Oh, I thought it was
Negative 3
oh,
squared.
It's cubed.
Oh, isn't it squared?
No,
No.
it's cubed.
Yeah, it's squared. Okay.
Wait, isn't it? No, it's cubed.
We're on
19, right?
19, yeah. Negative 3 squared. X is cubed, but
Oh.
we're doing this, we're squaring the left parentheses.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Alright, so. No,
Okay, then X's. What do we got in X's?
just x to the third, right?
No.
Just keep it.
Okay, everything's being squared on the left parentheses. So what's x cubed squared?
X to the fifth?
No. So it's like this. X cubed is in the parentheses and there's a squared on the
Okay,
outside.
so X to the sixth.
So it's x6. So it's multiply. And then y's.
Y is X to Y to the fourth.
No. We got y. And then on the outside we got squared. So there's y in the parentheses, and out here there's a square. So it's just y,
Oh.
it's going to be squared. And then z.
Did you just see squared again?
No, we got z to the 8th in the parentheses, and that's being squared.
Oh, those are being small. Okay, so Z16.
Yeah, z16. Will the question?
Wouldn't it be -9?
-3 squared is -3 times -3. So it's positive.
Feel bad for whoever gets 26.
Alright, nobody's going to get 26 because it's an even.
So
But-
we all get 20, right?
But 26 is pretty much the same as 25. So. Anyway,
What's 25?
so now we got the right parentheses. On 19, the right parentheses does not have a power outside of it, so I'm going to leave it the same. -5 x cubed y z6. So we didn't have to change that yet. Now we're switching from doing the exponent part that was up here, there wasn't any up here, to we're multiplying these two terms together. So this is a switch. So basically we're doing 9 times -5. What would that be?
-45.
And we're doing x6 times x3,
X9.
x9. So we switched to adding, right?
Yes.
And then we got y2 times y,
Y3.
y3. And then we got z16 times z6, z22.
We did it. Yay.
The end of that one.
Of that one.
Wait,
That one.
what's the problem?
Now the frying pan into the fire, 21.
Okay, 21's the same thing, just a little bit longer. Jaden,
Which one's the
lucky duck. Jaden, you know what 1/3 squared is? Do you see where I'm getting that from?
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay, it's 1/3 times 1/3. Do 1 times 1 and 3 times 3. 1/9. Okay, I'll put it down here. 1/9. And then what's x cubed squared? X to the third to the second.
9
No?
x 9.
Okay, no. When you have, it's not 3 to the second power, that would be 9, but it's x cubed squared. A power to a power is multiply. This is multiply. Kind of a hint to something to help you remember is what does it usually mean when you have numbers next to each other in parentheses?
multiply.
Right, when they're normal you multiply, and in this case it is multiply also. So this is x to the 6th. And then we have y squared squared, what would that be? Y to the 4th. And then we have z, and that's squared. So it's just going to be z squared. Okay, that's the first parentheses. On the second parentheses, we have to cube it, it says. So what is 2 to the 3rd power? Normal 2 to the 3rd power. 2 times 2 times 2. 8. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And then what's x to the 3rd to the 3rd? Right? And what do we got in y's? Y to the 2nd to the 3rd. 6. And z to the 1 to the 3rd. 3. And the last parentheses doesn't have an exponent on it, so I'll just copy it down. Looks like we're probably going to need a calculator on this one. Although, there is kind of an easy way to do this. Does anybody know what 1/9 times 18 is? It is 2. Do you guys know that? 1/9 times 18, just imagine You guys remember multiplying fractions? Yeah, that happens, so it's 2. And what's 2 times 8? 16. So you see how I kind of jumped around to multiply what I wanted together?
Yes.
So it's 16 for the normal numbers. Then we got, Jaden, back to you. X to the 6 times x to the 9th. What should we do to add it? Exactly. 6 plus 9 is 15. Oh, whoops. I forgot about this one. 16. Forgot about the last guy over there.
How could you forget about him?
Because he's last. I don't know. Okay, how many y's do we got? 4, 6, 10. How many z's we got? 2 and 3. 5. There. That's everything. We did it. Was that painful or easy?
Oh,
Whatever.
How is it easy, Sam?
don't ask.
Alright, so it's painful.
We have a teacher on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put that. Okay, 23. Something changes on 23. What's different? Add and subtract. Okay, the rules with adding and subtracting are you can only add and subtract, fill in the blank. Like terms. Like terms. You can only add and subtract like terms. I'm guessing when we simplify each term, the terms are the things that are separated by the plus and minuses. I'm guessing when we simplify the terms, they will be like terms that we can add together. Actually, they are not all alike. I just looked at it. Okay, Emily, on 23, what is the first term? 3b squared cc. What does that simplify to? Well, what's c times c? No? Don't listen to Sam. C squared. C times c is c squared. That's kind of the definition of, that's the definition of squared, right? That times itself. C times c is c squared. Does the middle term simplify any? No. No, it does not. Does the last term simplify any? What's b times b? B squared. Okay,
Do we just leave it like that?
are there any like terms?
Yeah.
Which ones?
The first one and the second one.
B2C2, B2C2. Would it matter if it said C2B2? Is that the same thing as B2C2?
Maybe.
Okay, so my question was, are these the same?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the order of the letter doesn't matter, just because order of multiplication doesn't matter, right? It doesn't change anything. Now, so if that had been a B2, in other words, if that had been a 2 right there, they would have all been like terms.
So-
Yeah.
It's pretty much 5.
So yeah, 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 what though? Here's where we're going to get it wrong probably.
B4.
Wrong.
B.
Okay, B2C2. So here's what you're doing. If I have 3 of these things, that's what that means, plus 2 of the same things, then I have 5 of the same things.
Whoa.
Okay, when you switch to add and subtract, the exponents are not going to change.
Oh, I getcha.
Okay, 3 of these plus 2 of these equals 5 of these, not 5 of something else. Okay, that's how it works on add and subtract. So this is the first problem we've actually added terms on. And then what do I do with this guy? Just put it, just sit it down in there.
Is that the answer, or do we actually subtract 2c?
Can't. Okay, if you have 5 of one thing minus 1 of something else, it doesn't equal 4 of anything. So that's as simple as we can get it. You can only add and subtract like terms. We've done add and subtract like terms before. They haven't been quite this big and interesting. We'll say it that way. Who's gonna help? kind of a review, but it's something we never did much of.
We've done this
Just put it,
So you're dead.
yeah, put it in the top. Yeah.
There is no review in this.
Yeah, we did a chapter 1, I promise. You can go back to the end of chapter 1.
I remember.
See?
Yeah,
Like I remember chapter 1.
We did the very first lesson.
There.
Honestly.
Well, it's not
Gosh, the very first day.
it's 7th lesson. 7th lesson.
But it says exponents menu.
It wasn't quite this. It wasn't quite this intense. Okay, 25.
Wait.
Okay, can we simplify the first term? 5x5 y4. Is that? Can we do anything to that? No, nothing multiplies together in that. 5x5 y4. Okay. How about the second term? It says minus 5. How many x's do we have on the second term? How many x's do we have in the second term?
4.
4.
Yes.
It says x3 and then it says x. You guys see where I'm looking? x3 times x is actually x4. So it's minus 5x4. And then how many y's do we have in the second term? 5. It says y3 and y2, or y2 and y3. Are these like terms? We're not really done yet, but are those like terms?
Yeah.
No, wait, the exponents.
It's
I said-
x5, y4, x4, y. So if they were like terms, it would have been 0, right, so far, but they're not, so can't do anything yet. Okay, on the third term, how many x's do we have?
4. Wait. Yeah, 4. 5.
No, 5 x's, x to the 5th, times how many y's do we have?
3.
No,
4.
look before you speak. 4.
It's close.
Okay, and then on the last term, does that simplify any? No. Okay, is there any terms that are like the first term, x5, y4?
No.
The minus x4 y5 goes to the second set.
Okay, so these two are the same.
Yeah.
But what about this one? X5, y4, and that one, right? And then, ooh. My
Can you make
smart
that
board
noise again?
the smart board has been horrible today. Take a look again. I never know when it's gonna happen. Alright.
You know it's what the?
This is my house.
She's like, no.
Anyway, so it was this one. So we got 5 of these plus 2 of these equals 7 of those.
Wait.
That's what we
But what about the second
So I haven't done it yet. So we have negative 5 of these, minus 5 of these, and I see a minus 1, right? No number up
Yeah.
there. So what's minus 5 minus
Negative
1?
6.
Minus 6.
Is it different because it's subtract like that one?
It's like a negative 5 minus 1. You just look at the sign in front of it.
Is that the answer?
Yeah, that's all we can do. You can only add like terms. Wait, I might cut it short here. Let's just go.
Yes.
25.
Yeah, let's go to 26. This is 25.
Yeah, that's instant. Yeah.
Thank you.
25 or 26?
We'll do 26. I guess I can make a bonus. We could do
26 is bonus. Let's go.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
20, maybe 28 or 30.
Man, I really appreciate it, Mr. Jordan.
Let's,
Do 28.
okay, I'll do 28 for bonus.
28 for bonus?
Yeah.
28, I'm not gonna
Do 26. I mean 27 so that we can see it in the back of the board.
Oh, good idea, Sam.